Hi guys, I'm Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a July wrap up and March, April, May, and June as well. So I'm gonna like speed through these because I have a whole stack. Like here, I can't lift all of it, but like here's half of it and then there's still more. So I have a lot of books to get to. So I'm gonna spend majority of my time on July, I think, and just kind of speed through the other months because I don't even actually remember like how I felt about most of these books, which is really unfortunate. But you know, July was like a really good reading month for me. My months are never like this, especially in my adulthood when I'm working and going to school and everything. And reading it's just kind of like not a priority to me. I read maybe 1, 2, 3 books a month. I read 10 books in July, which obviously is just like not something I do, but the reading rush was in July, and also I'm not in school right now, so it's just a lot easier for me to read when I don't really have anything going on. So I read a lot. Okay, so I put all of the books in a stack chronologically from March to July. This stack looks very unsteady, so hopefully it stays organized while I'm doing this. And yeah, again, I'm just gonna speed through these and give you guys like the rating and move on because we ain't got time for all that. So I read one book in March. It was Covering by Kenji Yoshino. This book, as you can see, has a bunch of tabs and there's like a bunch of underlines and stars and stuff in it because I read it for school. It's the only book I read in March because this project that I had to do with this book took like so long. It took so much of my mental power and I ended up dropping the class anyway, which don't really want to talk about. Okay, next in April I read 2 books. The first one being Chain Reaction by Simone Elkeles. Elkeles? I don't know if I'm saying that right. This book was... I gave it 2 stars. I didn't really like it. I liked Perfect Chemistry, which was the first book. I also read Rules of Attraction, which is the second book, and then this is the third and final book in the series. And I just didn't like it. I can't really remember why, because it was just so long ago, but I remember being like, no. The next book I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. This book I really enjoyed. I wanted to read the second book, but I don't own it. I don't know why I didn't just check it out on the library. I gave it 4 stars? I don't think I actually gave it a rating. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, I didn't give it a rating on Goodreads. It says that I wasn't sure what rating it was going to be, but it was going to be high. So I'm assuming this is like a 4 or a 5, maybe like a 4.5. From memory, I would say it's probably like a 4. In May, I read 3 books, the first one being Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. This was, as you can see by all the tabs on this one as well, there are so many like scratches and notes and like highlights and stuff in this. This was also for school, which I actually had read like different excerpts and stuff from this for school. This is the first time I read the entire book though. It's just a short little thing. It's really interesting. This took me forever to read though because I was annotating it, and also just like the subject matter is really heavy. I did not rate this because I just felt really weird rating it. You know, like I don't like the subject matter, but like the writing and like his talent at it and everything he's done, it's just like I want to rate that 5 stars, but I don't want to rate it 5 stars and then people think like, oh, I like the content. Like, no, this is a really heavy read. It's a really good one, but it sucks, you know. I had to write an essay for this for my history class. I got an A on that, by the way, but this is a worthwhile read. Next, I read The Wicked Deep by Shea Ernshaw. This book, I remember really liking it, but I cannot remember for the life of me like why. It was good. I gave it 4 stars, but I can't remember anything about how I felt about it. I can remember like basic plot points and that's it. And that cover is beautiful. I also read Meet Cute. This is an anthology by a bunch of different authors. These are stories about when people first meet. It's the very beginning of their relationship. It was super cute. This is a book that I like started and then I put down and I didn't come back to for probably a couple of weeks. I've had this checked out from the library for like since February maybe. I don't even know. But it was worth it. It was really good. I enjoyed a particular few stories, and I could probably tell you even now like why I liked them, but ain't nobody got time for that. So we're moving on. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, I gave this 4 stars. In June, I read one single book. It was Tell Me Lies by Carola Lovering. This book, I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars. And it was... When I tell you that it took me the entire month to read this book, I mean, it took me the entire month to read this book. It's not even that long, but it was just so exhausting to read. These characters are not likable. They are not... They're just not great. I don't even know how to explain it. I didn't like it. The story was frustrating. The main character was frustrating. Her boyfriend was frustrating. Like, everything was so frustrating. And I was just constantly disappointed by these characters, like, the entire book. Oh, my God. It was good, though. I mean, it was worth reading. I'm never going to read it again. But I don't regret reading it in the first place. I mean, I gave it 3 stars, so I guess I didn't hate it, but... One of those stars might have been because of this beautiful cover. I don't even know. Because I remember struggling through that book. It was good, but it was, like, tough. Okay, and now that brings us to July. In July, I read 10 books, which is a lot for me. That's, like, the entire rest of the month in a single month. And it was tiring. It was so tiring. When the reading rush ended, which most of these books I read for the reading rush. When it ended, I was like so relieved. I was like reading these books like it was my job, and it was miserable. So I don't recommend that. It's really interesting because this month I also had 3 DNFs, but I also had several 5 stars, like a lot of 5 stars. So I feel like there was a good balance. The first book I read is The Tea Dragon Society, and this is 5 stars. It is so cute. There are really pretty comics in here. There's really pretty pictures in here. This is a graphic novel, and it's just gentle fantasy. It's for younger readers, but like obviously you can read at whatever age you are. These dragons are so cute. I loved this entire world. It was so much fun. Obviously it's a graphic novel, so it sped through the storyline very fast, but it was enjoyable. I really liked it. I read the second book, which I'll talk about in a second, and I just recently found out that there's going to be a 3rd book. I can't remember what it's called. The Tea Dragon... I'll put a picture here. I don't remember what it's called. Definitely going to be reading that one. Next, I read Soulless by Gail Carriger, which I just realized like yesterday that I've been saying her last name wrong this entire time. Her name is Gail Carriger, according to the audiobook, and I've been saying Carriger, I think is what I've been saying. This book I read in 2013, I believe. I think I talked about this in my vlog, and I remember liking it, but I couldn't remember to what extent I liked it. I don't think I wrote a review for it. But I did look back on Goodreads, and I had given it 5 stars. So I was like, I'll give this another try. I'll read it. Read it. Loved it. Gave it 5 stars again. It's just like, it takes place in the late 1800s. This main character, she's soulless. She doesn't have a soul. There's also supernatural people. There's vampires and werewolves, and then also ghosts, and they have an excess of soul. And her being soulless, she kind of cancels out their supernatural state, so when she touches them, they turn mortal again. And there's a whole bunch of shenanigans, and it's just really, really, really good. I really like it. I really identified with her because she's a spinster, and I too am a spinster. So, no, this is a really good book. If you're into that type of fantasy, it says fantasy horror, but it's not horror at all. But if you're into like, I wouldn't call it steampunk, but it's very like historical fiction fantasy. Lots of vampires, lots of werewolves, lots of other shenanigans. It's really good. I really recommend it if that is your jam. Don't let these terrible covers confuse you, by the way. I don't really enjoy the covers at all, but the books are... Next, I read Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. This I read on an audiobook. What to say about this? I don't even know. Like, it was okay, I guess. What did I give it star rating wise? Oh, I didn't even rate this. I didn't even rate this. I mean, I'll never read it again. It was okay. I don't regret reading it, but like, I'm never gonna read it again. Next, I read Changeless and Blameless. These are book 2 and 3 in the Parasol Protectorate, which is what this series is called. There's 5 books in this series. I actually haven't gotten to the 5th one yet. I'm waiting on the library. These books, I forgot to mention for Soulless, I've read this entire series so far on audiobook. I've been following along with the ebook, mostly like while I've been cooking and just like doing things. I've been listening to this. I can't remember who the narrator is, but I absolutely love her narration. And I've read this entire series through audiobook, which is like also another one of those things that I do not do. I used to hate audiobooks. I couldn't pay attention. I didn't like them. They were just not my jam. And now I guess I'm an audiobook person because like every book that I'm getting ready to read, I want to read through audiobook and like following along. I think a lot of it has to do with my attention span. I've been having a really hard time paying attention while reading books. Hamilton's fault. But yeah, these have just been so good. They're such a treat to read. I really enjoy them. Next, I read The Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill. This is the 2nd book in the Tea Dragon Society series. This one is actually a little bit longer than the other one was, but it has just the same beautiful artist, or her drawings, I mean. And I just absolutely love them. Like, these stories, they are so cute. They're very inclusive. There's just a lot here that's so good. I cannot wait for the 3rd book to come out. This one was really good. I definitely recommend them if you're into graphic novels, or if you have like kids, students, friends, whatever, whoever who likes graphic novels. I really encourage you guys to check them out. Each one takes like less than an hour to read. They're not very long at the end of the day, and they're just so cute. Okay, moving on. Next, I read To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is another one that I read through audiobook and followed along on the ebook. I obviously have seen the movie. Well, not obviously, but like I've seen the movie and I really liked it. I had gotten through like 60 pages of this before, which I didn't realize. And yeah, I gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was very fun. I haven't read the other 2 books yet, nor have I watched P.S. I Love You. But I really enjoyed having seen the movie before reading the book, which is usually how I like it. I really felt like I gained a lot of story by reading the book after watching the movie, and I intend to do that with P.S. I Love You also. I want to watch the movie first, which is literally the only reason why I haven't picked up the next book in the series yet, because this was 5 stars for me. It was really good. It was a little melodramatic, but like YA, you know. But yeah, this is really enjoyable. I think everybody knows what To All the Boys I Loved Before is, so I'm not going to waste the time to explain it. By the way, I will have all of these books linked down below if you did want to go read the synopsises for them, just because like I just don't have time to go through all them right now. I'm too long-winded as it is. Next, I read Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom by Sylvia Plath. This is like a little 40-page story that I guess she entered for a magazine or something. It got rejected. This took me no time to read, but to be honest, I don't really love it. I gave it 3 stars, but it was just like, it was alright. I mean, it wasn't great. It didn't blow my socks off. I definitely want to read it again just to see if I can pick up anything else from it, but it takes place mostly on a train ride, and you don't really know what's going on. It's a little sinister. It's a little weird. You don't really know what's going on. I can't really say anything else. It's 40 pages. It would spoil it. But if you have the time, like if you have the urge to read it, I would say give it a try. I don't think you necessarily have to own this. I think I probably paid like $5 for this little book because I like The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and then I like the cover, but honestly, I feel like I could have lived without having owned this. After that, I read Heartless by Gail Carriger. This is the 4th book in the Parasol Protectorate series, the one that I was talking about earlier. I gave this book 5 stars as well. So far, all the books in the series have been 5 stars. It is so good. They're just so fun to read, and you know, they're very fast paced, and the main character, she is just so spunky and independent and pragmatic because she's soulless. So everything is just rational. It's not really influenced by her feelings a lot, and it's just, oh, love it. Love it. I can't tell you if I love the series as a whole yet because I haven't read the 5th and last book from it, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it's gonna be 5 stars, you know? So that's all of the books that I read in July. I do have some DNFs though, and I did want to give them a mention. I wouldn't really call them DNFs though. They're just like not finished. It doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to them. In fact, a couple of them I am going to go back to like pretty soon, probably today or tomorrow. The first one is Split Tooth by Tanya Tagaq. This, how do I explain? I know a lot of people like this book. It's pretty weird. It's very poetic and flowery, and I should have known from the get-go that I wasn't necessarily gonna like it because I don't really like poetry. I don't really like flowery writing. When you're telling me a story, I want you to just give it to me with the facts, nothing else. Like, maybe jazz it up a little bit, but I don't need like visualizations and stuff. And I certainly don't need you to beat around the bush. Like, please just tell me as if you were writing a police report. That's what I want. And obviously, like, a book like this isn't gonna give me that. And I think that's the only real hurdle I had with it. I know a lot of people said that the audiobook is really good, so I checked that out too, and it's just not for me. It's not for me. In fact, I think I told my sister-in-law, I think it was her, I said this book is like watching interpretive dance and being like, what the fuck is going on? That's how I feel about this book. I got probably a third of the way through it, maybe halfway, and it just never got better for me. There are certain parts where I was like, okay, this is all right, and there are other parts where I was like, what? So I do plan on finishing this. I'm not sure when. It's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be a struggle, and I think ultimately the reason why I didn't trudge through this at the time was because I was reading for the reading rush, and I just felt like I ain't got time for this, you know, so I put it on the not finished list. I will get back to it though. The next DNF was Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enríquez. This is a book of short stories taking place in Argentina, I believe. I got about 75 pages through this, and it's a pretty small book, so that's probably like halfway. And these stories, they're just kind of like I don't understand them. I don't think I'm smart enough for literally either of these books. That's really how I feel. Like, I feel like I'm not picking up something that I should be. Especially with this one. Like, Split Tooth, it was like very poetic, and I know that I don't like stuff like that. So it's just like, okay, but this one is prose, and I'm just like, I'm reading the story. I understand the story, but is there like underlying things that I'm supposed to be connecting and I'm not? Like, I don't understand. That's the reason why I quit this book. Again, this was another one that I was reading during the reading rush, and I just could not deal with it at the time. I felt like I was trying to rush through it, and it was taking me forever to read because I wasn't exactly liking it, and it was just making me miserable. So I just said, you know what, I'm not going to read this anymore. This is one that I have the audiobook checked out for, though, and I do plan on picking this back up probably like today. The stories, they're not terrible. I was having trouble getting into it. Let's just leave it at that. Oh, you know what? I just realized I forgot a book in for my July. I also read Convenience Store Woman by, don't remember her name, hold on. Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. So this book I gave 2 stars. I just did not really enjoy this book. It was okay, but it was not good. It wasn't terrible, but it was certainly not something that I will ever read again. It was a really short book, and it took me what felt like forever to get through. A lot of people were saying that the main character was like quirky and cute, and this book was really funny, and they were like laughing out loud while they read it, and I just did not feel that way. The main character, when I first started reading it, I thought that she had like an antisocial disorder. A lot of people, well, not a lot of people, I saw a couple people say that she was autistic, which by the end of the book I went, oh, okay, you know what, maybe she is autistic, but the way she talked, like, she said a couple of different things about, like, killing a baby because it was crying and that's the easiest way to get it to shut up, but, like, which is why I was like, is she, like, a psychopath or something? Like, what's wrong with her? And then she's, like, obsessed with the convenience store, or not obsessed with it, but she's very, like, connected to it. She feels like she belongs there. She feels like that's the life she's supposed to lead. And then there's this other guy who's very manipulative, and he's just a trash human being that comes into her life and starts taking advantage of her. And I hated, oh my god, I hated reading about him. I was okay with reading about the girl because there was nothing wrong with her. She was just a little weird. Just a little, like, outside of the box, but she wasn't, like, a bad person. There was nothing wrong with her. This guy that came into her life, oh my god, I started reading about him and I just wanted to drop the whole book. He was so freaking frustrating, and he was taking control of everything in her life, and she's so impressionable because she, you know, she's like in her own world, and she really has to take a lot of cues from other people to know how to react about things, which he totally took advantage of. And oh my god, he was so frustrating. Overall, the whole book, this is like a tiny book, but I felt like things happened but nothing changed. We were exactly where we started by the end of the book. You know, things, like, she started here, things happened, but somehow we still ended up here, like, at the convenience store again, which I understand is called Convenience Store Woman, but I just felt like I didn't need to read that. I didn't really gain anything from that. It was frustrating. It felt like it took me forever to read, and I was just like, I don't really like it. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't by any means a great book to me. I know she's, like, won awards for it and everything, so I want to, like, clearly state, like, these are my feelings. I just didn't like it. It was 2 stars. Anyway, back to the DNFs. I have one more. I got about 25% of the way through Sex and Vanity by Kwan, I think. He's the guy who wrote Crazy Rich Asians, which I haven't read. It was on my TBR, but now I don't know if it's on my TBR, because Sex and Vanity, it was just so boring to me. There was nothing wrong with it. The writing was fine. I felt like things were happening in the book. Like, there was a story forming, but I was just bored. Like, there's no other way to put it. I just was not getting into the book. And this is, like, post-reading rush. So I didn't feel like I was rushing through it or anything. I just was not feeling it. This is one of those books where I don't actually know if I'm gonna pick it back up. I got it from the library. It was like a lucky book where I got to, like, skip the line basically and pick it up before a bunch of other people. And at a certain point I was just like, return. I don't even care. Like, I don't care what happens because I'm just bored to tears reading this book. So yeah, those are all of the books that I've read since March. I read 10 books in July, which is just, like, crazy to me. I don't know how. It's certainly not going to stay that way after August because school starts for me August 20-something. I don't remember the date. I don't think that I'm going to have another reading month like July was. Before I leave, though, I did want to talk about Hamilton. Hamilton has kind of taken over my life this month. I watched it on Disney Plus. Obviously, I live in California, so I didn't get to see it on Broadway or anything. My first experience with it was on Disney Plus. I hadn't heard any of the songs before. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. My sister-in-law had watched it and she was like, oh my god, I love Hamilton. I just keep watching Hamilton. I keep listening to Hamilton. Hamilton. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm not really interested. And then a couple of days later I had some free time and I watched it and I went, I love it. So Hamilton's been taking over my life. There was probably a good week and a half where at work I just listened to Hamilton all day on repeat. I made my mom watch it with me and she also loved it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to keep talking about it though because it's probably old news to you guys, but I just wanted to mention that I have no idea how I read so many books in July when I was also extremely obsessed with Hamilton. So yes, I have been filming for like 50 minutes. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you guys are reading lots of books if you feel like it. Check out Hamilton if you haven't. Not sponsored, I just love it. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Not sponsored, I just love it.